Hello and welcome back to RaceRoom. If you've been following my channel for the past week or so, you'll know that I've set myself a new challenge, and that's to get my rating up to 1600, so I'm eligible to enter the new endurance race announced in the RaceRoom schedules this week. Last time out I managed a 6th place in the GT4 race at Suzuka. That's brought me to within 12 points of reaching that magic 1600. So today I'm at another track I'm really familiar with, Brands Hatch. What I'm not so familiar with is the car, the Group 2 VW Sirocco. It's one of the newest additions on RaceRoom, and this was the first chance I've had to give it a run out. Now, we're watching highlights of my first race yesterday afternoon, and I managed to qualify second in class, and I maintained that second position for the first few corners. But you'll see just there, Finney made a move up the inside of me into Graham Hill Bend, and although he runs wide on the next turn here, I drift a little bit wide too, and that invites the pass from the car behind. So I find myself in third position, and I decide that the best plan is just to tuck in behind Hero, the car in front, get an idea of what sort of pace he's running, and also trying to find a bit of a rhythm myself. Now you see the yellow flags just come out. I get really lucky here because there's a BMW rejoining the track, and if you keep an eye on the rear view mirror, look at the carnage it causes. Had I been just half a second or a second further back, I'd have been caught up in that melee, so it was a real lucky escape. We're watching the car on the outside, and I've actually got a lot of sympathy for him for the accident itself. He held the outside line fine, and it was actually the car on the inside that drifted over and clipped his rear, not once but twice. But we've seen some crazy rejoins in recent videos, and unfortunately this is another one for the list. Heading right back into the path of the oncoming traffic on a blind corner on the first lap. It was only ever going to end in disaster. This is the driver I've got the most sympathy for. He's having to deal with a pass up the inside himself, and that completely obstructs his vision until there's no time to react. Look at that! That Castrol BMW literally came out of nowhere, and there was nothing he could have done about that to prevent that collision. Now, once all the dust settled from that first lap action, it actually turned into a pretty uneventful race. We're watching Hero in front of me, and I just spent the entire time hoping he was going to make a mistake. You'll see there he ran a little bit wide, but not enough to really cost him any time. And no matter what I tried, I was always 1.5 to 2 seconds behind him. Now we fast forwarded to the last couple of minutes, and finally I get my wish. Hero makes a mistake, just coming into Graham Hill Bend. Watch him drift a little bit wide, he'll miss the apex and he'll get off the gas, and that gives me the chance to get right on his tail. I want to get as close as possible as quickly as possible because I'm hoping he's rattled from that mistake. And sure enough, the very next turn, he loses the rear slightly and it costs him a lot of time, and now I really am right on his tail. With the gap down to about 0.2, 0.3 of a second, I continued to push, but Hero managed to hold it steady, didn't make any more mistakes. I've got a pretty good drive coming out of this corner, and as we begin the run down to clearways to start the last lap, I thought about having a look up the inside, but I just didn't have the pace to pull it off safely, so I thought better of it and tucked back in behind him. All my hopes now were pinned on him making another mistake, much like he did on the previous lap. And then, with the checkered flag out, I so very nearly got my wish. He's obviously really pushing as we come up into this fast right-hander, and watch how wide he goes. Completely onto the grass, loses the rear completely, and at this point I was sure he was heading off into the barrier, but somehow he held onto it. This replay angle shows just how close he came to crashing out and gifting me that second place. I think if he'd have just clipped the grass on the other side too there, it would have been a different outcome. But yeah, fair play to him for holding on to that, and with it, holding on to second place. It also meant that I had to settle for third, but that did give me 7 rating points, so now I'm within 5 points of that magic 1600 target. So I'm back to race again today and hopefully pick up those final few points that I need. Although, as you can see, it's a really small grid again, so realistically I'm probably going to have to finish in the top 3 to get enough to take me over that 1600 mark. It was a little bit of a disappointing qualifying session, but I'm not too downhearted because I know I've got the pace to lap 1:44.5s fairly comfortably, and that should be enough to stick with the front 2. Let's see how we go. Really good start off the line there, that's one of my better ones. Not quite sure if we'll be able to make any positions because we're on the outside coming into Paddock Hill Bend. Never the best place to be. And yeah, we just didn't have enough to get that third place, so we've retained fourth position for now. Important to get on the inside into Druids and not leave the door open. We've done that. Similarly, on this run down to Graham Hill Bend, I've got to be aware of the possibility that someone might make a move up the inside, but we're okay this time. Guy behind isn't close enough. Locked up the brakes a bit there. Don't want to make any mistakes. But yeah, we've not gained any positions yet, so the important thing is just to stick on the tail of these guys in front. We don't want to let them get away. Need to get 5 rating points from this race, and I'm not sure if 4th out of 6 would cut it. Just a little worried about this gap opening up, although those cars in front are pretty close, so if they're going to start battling, that should help us close back in on them. Oh, way too late on the brakes there, locked up, ram wide, and that's going to cost me time. It's also going to invite an attack from Toledo, I think. He's looking on the inside. He's thought better of it. I think he's gone back to try and get an extra bit of draft. So I'm going to shut off the inside. I don't think there'll be room from around the outside. And there's carnage in front. Someone spun off. So we've gained 3rd position, but we're under attack from Toledo. He's on the inside. I left that too late to defend. So I'm going to have to give him the position. He's taking it back, but I've got a good drive out of Druids. I've got the inside for Graham Hill, so let's try and get this back. I don't want to drift into his path. I want to leave him some space. I'm going to stay on the inside, stay on the gas, try and get him on this inside turn, but I don't like it. I'm going to ease off it. Making a clean pass around that corner is difficult at the best of times, but we've got a yellow flag to contend with as well. We didn't know what was going to be waiting for us around that corner. Thankfully, it was a spun BMW on the left, and we've got around safely. And no sooner did we get that 3rd position, we lost it straight away to Toledo, so let's stick with him here and see what we can do. And Toledo's gone way wide. He's on the grass. Is he going to hold it? No, he's spun off. Toledo's gone. So we now have got that 3rd position. Oh, Toledo must have been pushing really hard to try and gap me as quickly as possible, and he's paid the price. Right, let's go back and check out the replay and see exactly what went down to give us this 3rd place. Starting with Worcester, the driver in 2nd place, just had his nose wiped on the entrance to Paddock Hill, and that spun him right the way around. On board with Worcester now, and the guy in 1st place was actually pretty lucky himself, because normally when there's contact like that, it's the car that gets clipped from the rear that spins off. But not this time. And after that incident, I lost the position to Toledo. I couldn't get it back, but in the end it didn't matter, because as we exit this corner, Toledo gets on the gas way too early, completely off track, tries to hold it, but he's going too fast and crashes out of 3rd place. And much like my race yesterday, once things settled down, it actually turned into a pretty non-eventful race again. I was lying in a fairly comfortable 3rd position. I was about 3 seconds behind Hansen in 2nd, but similarly I had about a 3-second gap to Worcester in 4th behind me. Now Worcester was the driver who spun out at Paddock Hill Bend, and he had a decent pace, but just not quite fast enough to close that gap on me. So rather than make you sit through the entire race of watching me driving around fairly leisurely on my own, I will fast forward to the final couple of laps of the race shortly, but just before we do, we can take another quick look at the replay of the BMW that spun out on the corner that I've just navigated there. We saw it briefly on the first lap as we went past, but this is what caused it. It was a move up the inside, and now that's the exact reason why I backed out of the same move, because it's so difficult to make it stick safely. There's only really one decent line going into that corner, and unless you're right alongside the car you're trying to pass, chances are you're going to clip his rear and cause an accident like that. But anyway, let's rejoin the race with a couple of laps to go, and you'll see that the gap to Hansen in 2nd has now grown. It's up to 5 seconds, so I've given up on that now. I don't think there's a chance I'm going to catch him. Instead, I'm more preoccupied with keeping that 3rd place, keeping an eye on Wooster behind and making sure that gap doesn't drop any further below 2.5 seconds. Less than a minute to go now on the clock, so I'm guessing this will be the last lap. And we've still got a gap of nearly 3 seconds behind, so that's good. Oh, locked up big time going into Paddock Hill. I don't want to lose the rear. But yeah, that wasn't a neat way to take Paddock Hill Bend. And that'll probably give Wooster a chance to close some time in there. What's the gap now? And when we get out of Druids, let's have a look. Yeah, it's down to below 2 seconds now, so that was costly. I don't want to be making any more mistakes like that on this last lap. Hansen's now 6 seconds clear. But all my attention is on the rear view mirror. I want to keep Wooster at bay. 1.5 seconds now. Let's concentrate. Want to hit all these turns perfectly. We're doing okay so far. Seem to have got our rhythm back. Again, another bit of a lock up there. I don't know if that's to do with tyre wear or whether I'm just being a bit heavy on the brakes. I was expecting this to be the last lap, but I've not seen any alerts come out and there's no checkered flag. Are we going to get another lap in? It looks like we are. So I'm glad I put a bit extra fuel in. Because we're going around again. Oh, and another big lock-up going into Druids. My braking is all over the place at the moment. And that's going to let Wooster come right back in. He's within a second now. And Hansen's gone, has he? I'm in second. I didn't even see what's happened to Hansen. He has gone. Well, what on earth's happened there? I didn't see that he'd left the game. No alert came up. But we are running in second all of a sudden. Yeah, well, there it is. It's just come up. Hansen has left the game. Well, we'll have to see what happened at the end of the race. But for now, my concentration's on holding on to this second place, incredibly. It definitely is the last lap now. The checkered flag is out. So we've just got to bring this home tidily with no more mistakes. I don't think Wooster is close enough. It's back to a 1.5 seconds. Just get around these two corners, okay. And yeah, well, second place. I can't believe that because we were nowhere near Hansen. So whether he's been disqualified, perhaps he ran wide and picked up too many instant points, I don't know. We'll have to check out the replay. But for now, we're going to claim second spot, and that surely will be enough to give us the rating points we need. Okay, so I checked out the replay of Hansen's last lap, and I'm afraid I'm none the wiser. This is him crossing the line to start the last lap, coming down into Paddock Hill Bend. He exits Paddock Hill, and then, yeah, all of a sudden, it will just disappear on the approach to Druids. So I can only assume that he suffered a lost connection, which is incredibly bad luck on the last lap when you're running in second place. But the only other theory I can come up with was that he, like me, thought he'd already completed his last lap, because I must admit it took me a little bit by surprise. I assumed that the checkered flag was coming out, and it was only as I crossed the line I realised I had one more lap to go. But maybe Hansen didn't realise and quit the game. Who knows? But as we move on to the Class B results, and yeah, there we are, second place. A surprise second place, and if we're being totally honest, probably not a deserved second place, but of course we'll take it, and undoubtedly that'll give us the points we need to get into the 1600 mark. Yeah, there we are, we're now on a rating of 1610. and also a reputation of above 90 again. So we've achieved it. It's mission accomplished. We've got the points needed to enter the endurance race. So next up for me now is a lot of practice around the Nürburgring, because it's a track I've never driven before, not in RaceRoom or any other sim. So I'll be doing a lot of laps around there this afternoon just to get familiar with it and get myself up to speed. And yeah, hopefully once I've got a bit of confidence, I'll be ready to enter my first endurance race. So stay tuned for that video, because I've absolutely no idea how it's going to turn out. But hey, we've all got to start somewhere, right? So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully it will all go smoothly. Enjoy your racing, guys. Catch up with you soon. Cheers.